on the 13th of March 1940. Vicious air battles developed in the skies behind the front line, with Finnish pilots downing about 70 aircraft in February. March, the last major battle took place in the Bay of Viipuri. In this decisive conflict, the sea air defence gave the order to engage regardless of losses. In addition to bombers and liaison aircraft, ground attack missions were also assigned to fighters. In cooperation with the land forces, this threatening situation was contained and the Soviet attack was halted. The Winter War ended on all fronts at 11 a.m. on the 13th of March 1940. By their actions, the Finnish army saved the independence of the country. Together with anti-aircraft gunners, the Air Force inflicted Soviet losses amounting to almost 600 aircraft. Finnish Air Force losses in the Winter War were 62 aircraft destroyed and 63 aircrew killed in action. In making peace with Moscow, Finland lost the Karelian Isthmus, parts of Karelia around Lake Ladoga, parts of Kuusamo, Sala and Petsamo, some islands in the Gulf of Finland, and the town of Hanko and its immediate surroundings. However, the war in Europe went on. Germany extended her power northwards by the occupation of Denmark and Norway, and in May 1940 she invaded France. Only 1 month later, German forces had reached the English Channel. The Battle of Britain started, but Hitler was already looking towards the east. The ending of the Winter War did not stabilize relations between Finland and the Soviet Union. The Finns were left highly suspicious of Soviet intentions. When plans for a defence alliance with Sweden came to nothing, German interest in Finland increased. Finland's political leaders found that the only way to protect the country against the Soviet threat was to cooperate with Germany. Hence, from the autumn of 1940, Germany was to greatly assist the re-equipping of Finland's defence forces. In the course of 15 months, Finland's defensive capability saw greater improvement than in the 2 preceding decades. Plans could now be drawn up for an army of 500,000 men. The amount of anti-aircraft artillery tripled after the Winter War. Although the number of naval vessels did not change by much, the number of aircraft increased considerably. At the end of the Winter War, Morane, Fiat and Hurricane fighters had been purchased for the Air Force, as well as 1 liaison aircraft. During the truce, a squadron of Brewster naval fighters was received from the United States, and they proved to be the best fighters on the Finnish front at the beginning of the Continuation War. Germany sold Finland captured Moranes and Curtiss Hawk fighters. The state factory built Fokker fighters and Blenheim bombers under license, the first being completed in the summer of 1941. Soviet SB and DB-3 bombers and 153 Stryker fighter, either captured in the Winter War or acquired from German depots, were reconditioned for Air Force service. At the outbreak of the Continuation War in June 1941, Finnish Air Force had a total of 235 aircraft in frontline squadrons, although the variety of aircraft types, 17 in all, was still a problem. However, although the liaison aircraft and to some extent the fighters were obsolescent, the comparison of forces between Finland and the Soviet Union was more favourable than during the Winter War. The Soviet Air Force's main interest lay in Central Europe. On the Finnish front, the Soviet Union had about 500 aircraft. With the imminent threat of war, Finland mobilized her reserves on the 17th of June 1941. Fighter squadrons were deployed to cover the mobilization of land forces. A bomber regiment was located in central Finland, ready to support both offensive and defensive operations. Liaison squadrons were dispersed to the airfields of eastern Finland. Aircraft maintenance as well as the airfields themselves were improved. Germany launched Operation Barbarossa against the Soviet Union on the 22nd of June 1941 with air raids on Soviet air bases. After centralizing the Red Army air arm, the German Air Force supported the thrust towards the Caucasus, Moscow and Leningrad. On the Finnish front, operations began 3 days later, with Soviet bomber raids involving several hundred aircraft against population centers in South Finland. Surprise attacks aimed at destroying the Finnish Air Force on the ground, however, failed. Finnish pilots hit back by downing 26 Soviet aircraft without loss during several air engagements on the first day of the continuation war. After these engagements, ground crew had the satisfaction of painting victory markings on the sides of their aircraft. The plan of attack for the Finnish army was finalized in the last few days of June. The Karelian army of more than 100,000 men was formed to counter the main thrust in the Joensuu area under the command of Lieutenant General Erik Heinsisch. This army was given the task of breaking through the Soviet forces to the east of Lake Ladoga and reaching the river Sver and Lake Annesjärvi. The 14th Division was to advance east from the Lieksa-Kumo area. German forces at Norway were responsible for operations in North Finland. The Finnish Third Army Corps, located in the Suomi-Salmi-Sala sector, was subordinated to German